Welcome to another fantastic edition of Fantasy Football Review. This is Doug Cook, and as always, I'm Rob Castro, your host. Douglas, let's get right back into it, man. How was your Thanksgiving?
Let's do it. Mine was good. I ate a lot of food. Robbie, I don't know about you. Did you eat a lot of food or what?
I think I always eat a lot of food on Thanksgiving, especially a lot of pumpkin pie, a lot of cranberry juice, a lot of cranberries. Let's not forget stuffing.
You don't look like you ate much, though.
I never look like I eat much.
You probably should have ate a little bit more, in my opinion. But,
I still weigh 165, as always. My weight's been fluctuating a little bit, but the football games I wanted to talk about on Thanksgiving that we never got a chance to talk about were absolutely atrocious. And I want to know when the NFL is going to change that rule to allow a little flex scheduling on Thanksgiving, because those games, to me, were all blowouts. They were not exciting matchups except for the Broncos-Giants. And quite frankly, I'm sick of seeing Aaron Rodgers throw for 10 touchdown passes against the Detroit Lions every week.
Those games were kind of shameful, God, and I'll be honest with you. And I'll point out some reasons for that in a minute. Let's go over the quarterbacks real quickly from year to date. Aaron Rodgers, who's been doing wonders for the top team in my WCOFF league, obviously is the top quarterback in fantasy football this year. Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, we could see them coming. Aaron Rodgers, though, a little bit too many points for my liking. And I think the reason is that because their defense isn't that good this year as it was the last couple of years. Green Bay I'm talking about. And now they're just like, they count on Aaron Rodgers for everything. Every time they get behind, he starts bombing it out. He's averaging like 300 yards a game.
Well, you also have to look at the division that I play in. And that's one thing that I wanted to point out the beginning of our show when it first started in August, is you look at this conference, the Central Division. It's a horrible division with the Chicago Bears, horrible pass defense.
They're not very good, guys.
Horrible pass defense. So, you got Aaron Rodgers here, who's a premier quarterback in the NFL, and he's playing against these guys week in and week out twice a year. And of course he's going to throw for 385 yards against the Lions. And he's going to throw for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Bears. That's just what he does. A guy like Drew Brees is in the same situation, and same with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. They're all in the top 5 because they play against favorable matchups every week. They play against teams that their defense is not that good, hasn't been good in a while. And I really think that you look at the Tony Romo or like a Ben Roethlisberger or like an Eli Manning, like those guys are playing against stout defenses week in and week out. But these guys, you need to look at who they play, especially when you're drafting, and pick accordingly.
Yeah, that's a good point, Cotton. And I'll tell you what, Brett Favre, and Tony Romo, number 6 and 8, both on my WCOFF fantasy team, which is in the league championships this week. We'll get to that in a second. I'm very happy with drafting both of those guys in double-digit rounds. Get 2 top 10 quarterbacks.
Those are 2 hell of quarterbacks right there.
They're 2 good quarterbacks considering especially where I drafted them. If we go to running backs, Chris Johnson is still tearing it up as he did on, I believe he did on Thanksgiving Day, did he?
No, Chris Johnson blew it up last Sunday against the Cardinals.
Or was that on Sunday?
He had another 85-yard rush. I think it makes it like 9 straight games with 80 yards on a touchdown run or better. That should be like an NFL record. I think he broke O.J. Simpson's record like 5 times.
Yeah, he might have.
Guy's incredible. But another guy, Ray Rice, we didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming.
The experts saw it coming. The experts sure did. They were right about one thing this year. If they were right about anything, this was one thing that they were right about. But I think it's the only thing they were right about.
I think so too. I think we were, like I said, every single week, we've always hit on those one-year wonders. Where's Steve Slayton? Where's Michael Turner?
They're not there.
I don't see them.
Turner's at number 9. In all fairness, for somebody that was drafted in the top 5, you get a number 9. That's okay, I guess. Certainly, better value was available, but
Matt Forte,
nowhere to be found at all.
Every single draft went before Chris Johnson. Who saw that one coming? Not anyone but us.
Yeah, we saw it coming, Cotton. And D'Angelo Williams and Ricky Williams, you see these guys at 6 and 7. D'Angelo, certainly a capable running back, and Ricky Williams, ever capable and getting more and more of the carries now that Ronnie Brown is out. And there's really not much more. I don't know if there's anything more I could say about Ricky Williams at this point, because he is really a solid run. It doesn't matter what you think about his habit of pot smoking or how he got around the drug test this year, if he still is smoking pot. But the fact is, he is a very good, solid running back, and he always has been in the NFL.
I think a guy you need to target when you're looking, you're getting ready for the playoffs And if you have this guy on your team, you're loving it right now. It's Joseph Adai. Last 3 weeks, he's giving you 3 straight touchdown carries. Donald Brown, who we sort of focused on in the latter rounds of the draft board because we thought that he might step up, being a first-round draft pick out of UConn for the Colts, hasn't really done that much. He's been subdued due to injury. Joseph Adai, though, catches a lot of passes from Peyton Manning. He's always in motion. He's always in the bulk of their offensive schemes, and I think this guy's going to get more carries, more touches, and that's going to equal more touchdowns. So you're loving it if you have him.
Yeah, he's ranked number 10 here. I'm not sure if this is the points per reception league or not. I think in the points per reception league, he's even higher, okay, than wherever else we're talking about. So, Joseph Adai, Frank Gore, why don't you take us through the wide receivers real quick there?
Some guys that I like I've been talking about, is Reggie Wayne, number 1 on your fantasy board right now, year-to-date stats. Guy's incredible. Guy lights it up every single week. Does what he always does, and he's just totally committed week in and week out. Catches a lot of balls. Another guy like Randy Moss, deep threat right here. Larry Fitzgerald, though, been very, very disappointed out of him. He's caught 9 touchdowns, but I expect a lot more out of this guy. One guy that I do feel bad for getting rid of is Austin Miles out of Dallas. Guy's fantastic. He's caught 8 touchdowns. Had a hell of a game against the Oakland Raiders. Can't say any more about this guy. Gave you 45 points if you started him. He's a must-start week in and week out. A guy like Sidney Rice is slowly but surely climbing up these boards, doing a hell of a job out of Minnesota right now. Even though Percy Harvin's been there, their bread and butter, and they give him the bulk of the touches. Sidney Rice is still doing exceptionally well. Marcus Colston, any New Orleans Saints guys you got? They've been playing really, really well. Drew Brees is primed for an MVP type season, along with Brett Favre, who we forgot to talk about. But seriously, Doug, it's a Donald Driver show. If you're a wide receiver and you drafted him in the 10th round.
That's great. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of guys that I have on my WCOFF fantasy team in this list right here. Randy Moss at number 2, Sidney Rice at number 9. And then if you go down to Sims Walker, I guess he didn't quite make this list. I guess he fell down to number 16 with last week's debacle. But I'm happy to have them on my fantasy team. If we go to tight ends, Vernon Davis, Dallas Clark, Vernon Davis. This is a guy that was supposed to do good 2 years ago, as we always say, and he's really doing good. And especially the last half of the season so far, he's really
toughened up. Dallas Clark too, giving you a lot of receptions, a lot of touchdowns out of the Vernon Davis in the tight end spot. You're loving it. A guy like Vicente Shanko out of Minnesota, he's got 8 touchdown grabs as well, but. You'll get a guy like Greg Olsen, Heath Miller. Those are 2 guys that were drafted very, very high and haven't really lived up to their expectations quite yet. But Greg Olsen he only has 47 catches, but he's starting to catch a few more balls inside the red zone. He's starting to become Jay Cutler. Well, really, Jay Cutler doesn't have a favorite target, but if he could lock in on somebody, it'd definitely be a guy like Greg Olsen.
Yeah, as far as pillow fighters are concerned, these are kind of predictable. Again, like Phil and I always preach on this show, these are the guys, for the most part, whose teams are going to the playoffs. You got Akers, Kading, Tynes, Gostkowski, Longwell, Crosby, Carney. Obviously, most of these guys are going to the playoffs. A lot of those towards the end of the list are real debatable as to whether or not they're going to make to the playoffs or not. Obviously, Seattle probably not, but you know what? They have one of those teams that has trouble scoring touchdowns, and they count on their field goal pillow fighter to score most of their points.